Hi everyone, this is Rebecca Rutherford. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar, 16 Simple Ways to Improve Your Website in 2016. Let's dive in. So first things first, here's a quick agenda. We'll start with a brief introduction and then we'll get to the good stuff, all right? Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Rebecca, again, and I'm the director of Ungerbach Digital. I have more than 15 years of experience in marketing, 5 of which are specifically in the events industry. And I've worked with everything from big brands to small venues. I am crazy about inbound marketing strategy and all things digital, but enough about me. Let's talk about Ungerbach Digital. Ungerbach Digital is a digital agency created under the Ungerbach software umbrella as a result of our clients' requests to help them unify their public-facing entities like their websites, registration portals, and the like. They wanted to unite that with their operational backend, aka Ungerbach software. We only serve venues, exhibition and conference organizers, or member-based organizations like associations. So in other words, we create digital solutions for people who bring people together. And over the past year, we've launched many websites for venues, events, universities, associations, and so on. All right, so enough about us. Let's talk about the 16 simple ways to improve your website in 2016. So, you know, it's cold or unseasonably warm outside. There's twinkling lights and eggnog and whatnot, presents to wrap, cookies to bake, etc. And that can only mean one thing. You've got less than a month to get your act together before the new year begins. Oh, and there's that whole, you know, Christmas holiday cheer thing, but you get where I'm coming from. There's no reason to panic, though, because we're coming at you today with 16 simple things you can do to make your website a lean, revenue-generating machine in 2016. And 16 tips is a lot to plow through, and we've all got to-do lists about a mile long, so let's get to it. All right, number 1, first order of business, install Google Analytics. An absolute must. If you do nothing else to your site in 2016, please do this. Having no real idea about what is and isn't working means you're missing out on picking up some of the lowest hanging fruit in terms of improvements you could make that will have a really noticeable impact on your site performance. So absolutely must do. There are a couple routes you can take here. There's free and paid. Actually, it's probably more like free and paid, because one of the freebies is Google Analytics, and it's kind of a must for SEO reasons. But anyway, so whether or not you need to add a paid tool on top of Google Analytics and any other free options you may choose really depends on what it is you need to know and how in-depth you want to go. If you've got nothing right now, I'd probably recommend starting with Google and then considering paid options once you become familiar with that platform and its limitations. I've included a short list here of some of my favorites from both categories, but this is just a snippet of what's out there. Paid options might require enough technical know-how to necessitate calling in an expert to install, but you should be able to set up the free tools on your own. So very quickly, I will give you a quick list of how to set up Google Analytics. So first, you have to create the Google Analytics tracking code. Seven easy steps. First, you access an existing Google Analytics account or create new analytics account at that URL there. You click the admin tab, click the arrow next on the account drop-down and select the create new account option. Fill out the new account information, click the get tracking ID button located at the bottom of the form. Accept the terms of service by clicking the I accept button and copy the tracking code. It's easier than you might think. And then next you have to create, then you have to embed it. So this is how you include Google Analytics tracking code, locate the header file within your CMS, and paste in the analytics tracking code. Google will tell you where to put it. So it's a breeze, and when you're done with that, you can rejoice in the fact that you are now better informed about your website. All right, moving along to numero dos, review your analytics. So despite what you may be thinking, this is not the same thing as number 1. So, you know, keeping tabs on what is and isn't working is the easiest way to identify improvements that will make a big impact on performance, but you might not think that installing analytics and reviewing said analytics are the same thing, but you'd be wrong. It's terribly common for businesses with robust analytics on their website to kind of consider the box checked after installation and check in on things rarely, if ever, occurs. So why do analytics skip the shaft? Analytics UX is generally kind of confusing. Second reason is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So back to number one. First, it's an almost universal truth that analytics interfaces are terribly confusing. Although it's not insurmountable, there's definitely a learning curve that a lot of people don't have the time or patience to get through. And so second, as long as nothing seems broken, it's all too easy to just take a hands-off approach and let things just keep on humming along. But you don't want to do that. So here's some easy solutions. As just I said a few slides ago, there's no better way to know exactly what you can do to improve the performance of your website than keeping tabs on the analytics. So the hassle is more than worth it. Easy ways around these roadblocks include calling in the experts and scheduling regular reviews in advance. As far as getting outside help, it doesn't necessarily have to mean finding room in your budget for an analytics consultant to decode things for you every month. If you have the budget, though, it can't hurt. It could be as simple as a little temporary hand-holding to get you familiar enough with the process to handle things on your own. Once you've got that down, give analytics review a non-negotiable place on your monthly calendar. Make sure everyone with a stake in the website is in the room. Don't open the door until you've got a list of action items and a clear idea of who's responsible for each. All right, number 3, responsive design. So what you're seeing in front of you is an example of responsive design, which is the content on your site rearranging to fit a different size screen. And this is key. In many cases, the content also changes based on the size of the screen, which helps site visitors have a better browsing experience, and it prioritizes the content. So the important stuff is most likely to be viewed. Responsive design is important for 2 reasons. Numero uno, Google says so, and number 2, users do too. Whether we like it or not, Google is kind of the boss of us online, and they say so. At the moment, Google generates 64% of all core search queries in the United States and accounts for 89% of the global search market. So basically, it's Google's world, and we all just kind of live in it. But what does that have to do with responsive design? Well, Google has made it perfectly clear that they are not fans of sites that have not been built to be responsive to various screen sizes. They've been very clear about that. They have also made it clear that this is a big deal in regards to search rankings. So if you want to rank high, more mobile-friendly sites, the better, right? So now that we understand why we should care that Google wants our websites to be responsive, on to the second argument that supports our first tip. Your users care too. We know this to be true because more than half of them are viewing and using your site via a mobile device. So it stands to reason that if your site doesn't work properly on a mobile device, that massive chunk of your audience isn't going to spend too much time there. So here's the solution. Check out the mobile-friendly test that Google provides. All you have to do is go out to the Webmaster Tools, mobile-friendly, that URL right there for you. Enter your page, your URL, and click Analyze, and then Google will spit out the results and tell you whether or not your site is mobile-friendly. And then you can also look in your Webmaster Tools account, and it will tell you what your mobile usability is. So that's how you know. Then, if you're a little stuck on what to do about it, if you get bad news, you can you could Google about how to get started, and they have some great tips on how to make your site mobile friendly. All right, next up, number 4, develop a healthy relationship with server redirects. Those are 301s and 302s. So a 302 is a temporary redirect and should only be used when a resource will return to its original location or URL. And to be honest with you, the best way to figure out how to deal with these or to get some good advice is from Google themselves. So when your site has too many of either of these redirects, 301s or 302s, or they're being used incorrectly, it can slow down your site speed, which makes it more difficult for search engines to crawl your pages. And it's not so great for users either. And if these redirects are being used incorrectly, it could lead to even bigger problems, think like penalties from Google, as far as search rankings are concerned. So check out this video. It's a good video from the web spam team at Google that can help you figure out what the right balance is of redirects for your site. Capiche? Moving along. Number 5, tighten up your content. So when it comes to web copy, it often boils down to a classic case of quality versus quantity. Even though the answer is always obvious, it's trickier than you think to find the right balance. There's no set-in-stone number of characters that each web page should contain, but each page must serve a purpose. The content must be thorough enough that it efficiently supplements services and products. However, based on research by blog publishing platform Medium, the ideal length of the blog post takes visitors 7 minutes to read, which works out to be between 1,400 and 1,750 words, as the average person reads about 200 to 250 words per minute. So Medium found that after 7 minutes, readership just started to drop off. So that's a good kind of rule of thumb for your content. And as you know, just like Google is king, content is king as well. So as a start, review your key landing pages for content length and consider splitting content into multiple pages or adding infographics if it's too long, or adding content if it's too short. But beyond the length factor, make sure the content is quality. Don't have content just for the sake of meeting a word count target. This is a little freaky, but it's a picture that is meant to represent duplicate content. I'm going to flip the slide over really quickly because she's kind of freaking me out. But number 6, the rule is no more duplicate content. So duplicate content refers to pages within or across domains that share similar or identical content. This is usually due to a lack of canonicalization, which is not an easy word to say, but that's the process of conveying to Google which version of the content should be indexed, or lack of sufficient, in regards to volume, content on pages. Duplicate content causes a web page's authority to be divided among the many versions. Additionally, Google has the ability to index whichever version it chooses, which may not line up with your preference. Search engines do not like duplicate content because it suggests the content in question may not be legit or of the highest quality, and it forces them to crawl the same page multiple times, and nobody likes that. For these reasons, a site may be penalized for duplicate content, resulting in lower rankings or de-indexing of pages. Not good. So what can you do? Well, a permanent 301 redirect is the best SEO practice for when a page's URL is changed or deleted. These redirects pass all link credibility from their original URL to the new URL. So permanent redirects help with duplicate content caused by canonicalization issues, or 404 not found errors caused by a page that has moved to a new URL. So note, as is always the case, moderation is key. Like we talked about before, too many 301 redirects can slow site speed and negatively impact the rate at which search engines crawl the site. You can download this tool. It's called Screaming Frog Web Crawler, and use it to crawl 500 pages on your site for free. This application lets you do a lot of different things, including finding duplicate content problems. You can find duplicate page titles by simply clicking on the tab Page Titles, or meta description and filtering for duplicate. You can also find pages that have multiple URL versions by simply clicking on the URL tab and sorting by duplicate. So it's real handy. If you simply must have similar content on several pages across your site, use canonical tags to tell search engines what versions of the pages you want to return for relevant search queries. The canonical tag is found in the header of a web page. And back to 301s for a second. A 301 redirect is the best option when you don't have any need for multiple versions of the page to be available. So if you find a heap of duplicate content you plan to axe, be sure to use a 301 redirect to redirect all legacy pages to a new URL. This keeps you from losing any link juice you may have built up for those pages by passing it on to other pages on your site. You can also use meta tags to tell search engines not to index a particular page. Meta tags work best when you want that page to be available to the user but not indexed. For example, like terms and conditions. Moving right along. Number 7, keep your content up to date. One more thing about content. If you're not keeping things fresh, you're kind of missing the point. So while some old content will almost always rank high for terms if multiple points indicate that it is the best search result for a particular query, Google does consider new, fresh content to be an important factor. Quite frankly, it tells Google that you're paying attention and continually adding value on your site. And at this point, we all understand why we have to care what Google thinks, right? So do it Mentos style. Create some space on your site and in your calendar to freshen things up on a regular basis. Have a blog or news area in order to post new content regularly. And read this article here that we've linked to for some additional points about how frequency, amount of content, and linking all factor in. I didn't think you wanted me to just read it to you, so there you go. Help yourself. All right, number 8, scale back on outbound links. So more wisdom from our friends at Google. They attempt to explain this tip by Matt Cutts, in which he quotes the Google guidelines. So what he says is, keep the links on a given page to a reasonable number, fewer than 100, which I would have thought something maybe half of that would have been reasonable. When you include links on your page, you pass along the credibility, essentially, from your page to another. So you're dividing the page rank of that page, which is what Google uses to determine the importance of a web page. You're dividing it between all of those links. So Chrome Web Store has a Check My Links tool that will give you an exact count of the links on a particular web page, and it will give you a few other handy insights as well. So I'd highly recommend, if you're interested in seeing how many links your page has, go out to the Chrome Web Store and get that Check My Links tool. Number 9, build inbound links. So I've been talking a lot about things on your website that search engines don't care for, so here's something you can do that makes them all warm and fuzzy. Getting an authority link to your site or your blog has been one of the most important aspects of growing your blog for the last several years, and all signs point to a continuation of this trend into 2016. So back in 2011, page-level link metrics and domain-level authority features accounted for over 43% of your page's own authority. Every 2 years, Moz, one of the experts in the industry, surveys the opinions of dozens of the world's brightest search marketers and runs correlation studies to better understand the workings of search engine algorithms. They gather this data to gain insight into the factors that may help or hurt a website's visibility in search engines. As you can see, inbound links are the single largest factor in that recipe for success. This tip is definitely one of those that is easier said than done, though. And it can be really tempting to consider shortcuts like buying links, but post-Penguin and Panda, the major updates to Google's algorithm that penalize black hat SEO tricks like this one, that is a very bad idea. I'm going to talk a little bit about this in more depth later, but we believe the best way to encourage inbound links is a really robust content marketing strategy. That's social media to get people familiar and engaged with your site. That's a thoughtful and well-planned blogging schedule and content calendar to give people a reason to visit your site and provide something for them to talk about and share on a regular basis. That's building a reputation for yourself as a thought leader in your industry so you can solicit the opportunity to guest blog. The list goes on. It's hard work, but the payoff is worth it. All right, next up is number 10, improve page load times. The amount of time it takes for a site to load affects usability and crawlability. Pages with long load are crawled more slowly and less frequently. The load time for mobile browsers affects visitors' experience, which is extremely important now with the increase in mobile web browsing. A low page speed can result in a loss of traffic and opportunity to convert visitors into customers. At this point in the game, you know I'm not going to just throw out a tip without offering a few how-tos. So use browser caching, eliminate render blocking JavaScript and CSS in above-the-fold content, compact the JavaScript code, and optimize images and enable compression. Got it? Not a problem, right? So don't worry, we'll send out a list of tips after the fact in case you didn't jot all those down. But you can also go out and Google page speed insights, and there are plenty of rules that Google is willing to share with you about that. All right, next up, focus on the visitors and attendees. In the events business, you serve a lot of masters, as does your website. At once, your site needs to speak to several different audiences, each of whom has their own set of priorities. Given this, it can be really tough to balance the messaging and to design a user experience that works well for everyone. For many sites, the desire to please everyone results in falling short of expectations for everyone. So who gets first billing? We say visitors and/or attendees. So here's an example of what one of our clients did to focus and create some emotion for their potential attendees of their event called Bring on Summer. Have you ever heard that bit of career advice about the best way of pleasing your boss is being to make them look good in front of theirs? Same deal with your event website. Not that I'm recommending completely ignoring exhibitors, sponsors, or event planners, far from it really. But at the end of the day, these users aren't looking for messaging that is tailored to them. They're searching for platforms that are focused on their customers. One good way to help you figure out exactly who this demographic is and what they want is to spend some time crafting buyer personas, thinking through who is the end attendee or user of my product or service, and how can I attract them to my website and cause them to take action. Number 12, simplify conversions. If you follow through with many of the previous tips we've talked about today, you're going to have traffic rolling in like thunder. Can't make it rain without conversions, though. What are the conversions you want on your event website? There are soft conversions that bring your target customers closer to you, so newsletter subscriptions, fan page likes, blog subscriptions, and the like. And then there are hard conversions, things like registrations, ticket sales, and requests for information. Either way, you want it to be as easy as possible to complete conversions on your site. Here is an example of one of our clients, Mayo Civic Center, and as you can see, they have prominent calls to action. So basically, in general, this looks like prominent calls to action, experience-oriented, hassle-free processes, and clearly stated business objectives. And here's a bonus tip. It is never a bad idea to have someone outside your professional circle take a walk through your processes for registration, ticket sales, or contact forms to get an unbiased sense for how simple or otherwise they are. Number 13, be social. As far back as 2011, there was definitive proof that search engines were factoring social media indicators like tweets, likes, and shares into rankings. You may have noticed that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the like are still happening. Odds are good that's going to continue into 2016. So there's more reason than ever to expand your network to include social media platforms. The rationale is the same as the argument for the outsized emphasis on links in algorithms. If other people think your content is worthy enough to share or talk about on social media, then it stands to reason that this is a good indicator of quality. And here's an example of one of our clients, Tacoma Dome, integrating their website with Instagram so that people can go to their site and see live some pretty interesting content that comes from their events. So what does that mean? You should go sign up for every social media platform you can find? Not so much. Start slow and small. Pick one platform to begin with, learn how to use it according to its own rules, and master your strategy there before moving on to a second platform. Before you jump in, it's also a good idea to put together a strategy for handling complaints or criticism, but don't let fear of negative comments hold you back. The potential payoff is greater than the risk, I promise you. All right, we're getting down the list. Number 14, launch a content marketing strategy. I touched on this a little earlier in our conversation, but it's an idea that's been in the background of several of the tips I've offered today. Blogs, white papers, ebooks, infographics, webinars like this one, video production, social media posts, all of this is fruit born of a well-planned content marketing strategy. The idea here is to provide a steady stream of valuable information to your target audience who then, 1, begin to think of you as an expert resource, 2, promote your work on social media, 3, buy your product or service, 4, all of the above, which is ideal. Do this well and the traffic and conversions will be a path to your door. First order of business here is to determine exactly who your audience is, which you should already know, and where they're hanging out online, which you may not already know. That will dictate what kind of content you start producing and where you distribute it. The rules of engagement for content marketing will probably sound familiar. Start small and focus on quality. Next up, number 15, build in community. If you're going to get serious about social media and content marketing in 2016, make sure you get the most mileage you can out of your efforts. Don't just let all the magic happen on third-party platforms. Make your website the hub of the online community you're building by creating space in the design for these interactions. Think social media feeds and links, forums, an event-specific blog or news feed, and sharing tools. Work as many reasons as you can for your attendees or visitors to frequent your website right into the fabric of the design. Number 16 is integrate. So as I mentioned before, Ungerbox Digital was born out of Ungerbox software, so we have some very, very, very interesting built-in integration capabilities. So an example is this venue center demo site that we've created. All of the content that you see here is pulling from the Ungerbox software backend. It allows you to enter that data into one place and pull that information forward into your website very seamlessly, and it keeps all of the data real time, helps you avoid duplicate content entry, and it looks great in the process. Other areas of integration that we currently execute upon: event integration, event showcase integration, we do single sign-on, and we can also pull data like membership directories and things of that nature. But always ask. We're also able to push information into your database from the website, so allow people to find available space, submit event leads, and create opportunities, and also reserve space. So just let us know what you need to do, and we will work with you to create a solution for it. So number 16 is integrate, and then bonus, number 17 is just ask for help if you need it. You're an event organizer or a venue manager or an association professional. So even though it's probably on your already overflowing plate, website design and online marketing likely isn't your area of expertise. Maybe it is. But make permission to focus on your core strengths, one of your resolutions for 2016, and just ask for help. The same way you'd turn to an outside expert to fix faulty wiring or tear down or reset a show floor, if your website could use a few tweaks or a complete overhaul, there's no shame in calling in a professional. Not only does it free you up to focus on tasks more fitting of your expertise, you'd probably end up with a better outcome. So the question is, now what? Numero uno, review your site with the tools that we've provided. Again, we'll send out a follow-up so you can help yourself. You can email us at digital-us@ungerbox.com for any questions, assistance, or analysis/strategy services. And finally, be awesome in 2016. Have an amazing website, have amazing results, have amazing events, and just be awesome in 2016. All right. Any questions? Please feel free to use the chat function and go to webinar. And I'll just give it a couple seconds. Perfect. Well, you know what? If you come up with any questions, please feel free again to email us at digital-us@ungerbox.com. It has been a pleasure, and I wish you all a very, very happy holiday season. Thank you.